Now joining me to discuss the task before the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities is Bola Bakare, President, Truth Be Told Network. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I've also been joined on the program by Kasim Olalekan-Lawal, legal practitioner and chairman Association of Lawyers with Disabilities, FCT chapter. Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Very well. And let me start with you. There's been a bit of confusion as to who the big umbrella of persons with disabilities accommodates. Now, who and who qualify as persons living with disabilities, for starters?
Anybody with one form of disability, visible disability or the other, is qualified to be referred to as a person with disability. It could be sensory, it could be cognitive, it could be physical. What do I mean by sensory? It could be anything that affects any sense organ of the body, be it sight, be it hearing, and for cognitive, anything that has to do with mental disability, and for physical, anything that has to do with spinal cord injuries or one form of disability that affects one's movement or motor neurons.
All right, but then going by your definition, yes, would it then be right to say that those who are a bit impaired, maybe not completely, for instance, those who have to use visual aid like glasses, like I do, would we qualify to be called persons living with disabilities? Well,
by international convention, there are guidelines as to how to ascertain who is really qualified to be described as such. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities actually specify a particular range within which, if such person is able to see, let's say within the 10 meters or 20 meters thereabout, that's just an instance. So if such a person goes to the hospital and according to the Act, such a person is certified to be blind or visually impaired, then such a person qualifies to be.
All right, let's leave it there for now, and let me go to Bola Bakare. What would you say that the law and now the Commission adequately compensates for the long years of clamor?
Thank you, my brother. From the perspective of Truth Be Told Network, I would like to give kudos to Mr. President. Not just Mr. President alone, but to the next line of action, to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Because the Honorable Minister has been able to do a fantastic follow-up that generated the situation where the President assented, and at the same time, a commission has been established. So as we speak, the thing to do is for us to move to the next level. And what is the next level? I believe that my brother here has given us a definition of major disabilities. Maybe physical, maybe intellectual, maybe visual impairment and the rest of it. But I would like to move a little bit further because I believe the President has done his own bit. The Honorable Minister has done our own bit. The next bit is with us, the populace. How do we relate to the people with disabilities?
Well, we will get right there, but I wanted to find out if the Commission, the law and then the Commission, if they have adequately compensated for the long years of clamor by people living with disabilities.
I'll give you this for free. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. We have made the first step, and I can tell you that we're going to improve on it. The ministry in charge is going to improve on it. The Honorable Minister in charge, I normally say one thing on a regular basis. When it comes to empathy, the female gender, it tops. And for us to have a female, Umar Farouk in charge, I believe not just 2 steps, we're going to make multiple steps in achieving the goal of the Act.
And so what should the attitude of society be in line with this law?
Good.
What can be expected of society?
Good. I believe the society, that is the larger percentage, we should be able to educate ourselves as to how to deal with people with disabilities. Honestly, we are not, I can say this truthfully, we are not that good at dealing with people with disabilities because our orientation is a little bit on the negative side. We look at disability as being a negative situation. But the situation we have on hand right now, and I believe we're going to touch on it a little bit this evening, is the fact that we are going to tell ourselves how to relate with these people. And I guess when you throw the question, I will go into that.
All right then, let me get right back to Kasim. A song came across my mind a while ago. Now that we found love, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, okay.
And so I just want to ask, how much reprieve can persons living with disabilities expect with the commission set to take off? How much can this do for you?
It can do a lot, in the sense that there are already different disabled person organizations that have worked on different aspects of our national life. I mean, where things can be improved upon. For instance, the association where I belong, Association of Lawyers with Disabilities in Nigeria, in the last 1 year has been working on accessibility of courts, to both persons with disability that are legal practitioners, to witnesses, to clients or litigants. And as well, the other association that I also belong, Nigerian Association of the Blind, FCT chapter, also worked on the accessibility of public buildings. So we already have materials on ground with which the commission can actually work upon. There are so many other organizations that have worked on different aspects of the challenges that we face in Nigeria. So I believe the commission will be, will be put to use as soon as the governing council begins to work.
Then, given the way things are panning out now, is it likely that the commission will be manned, or would you say that the commission should be manned by persons who it should cater for? That is, will the commission be better managed by persons who understand what the plight of persons living with disabilities are?
Yes, by the wisdom of the lawmakers, they have placed that responsibility in the hands of a person with disability, that is the executive secretary. The executive secretary is charged with policy implementation and administration of day-to-day affairs of the commission. And the person that has been appointed in that regard is a seasoned, well-qualified person with disability, in the person of James Lalu. He has really worked for the community, and I hope and pray he will take off from where he stopped.
Okay, let me take this to Bola Bakare. Now, how do you think that the institution, the commission, should be structured to better provide for or cater for persons living with disabilities?
Thank you once again. You see, like he rightly said, and the wisdom of Mr. President in putting together a governing council made up of people with disabilities who understand where the shoe pinches. That is one very good step forward. And I can assure you, we are in good shape. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, I am sure, will take care of dot all the I's and cross the T's. But what I am looking at here is the third level of relationship with people with disabilities. The President has done his own bit. The Honorable Minister has done her own bit. The next bit is with us, the populace. How do we relate with them? And that is one factor I want us to look at closely. First, I will say this. We need to tell ourselves that if the reverse were the case, how will I want to be treated? So we need to tell ourselves some honest truth in dealing with people with disabilities.
Yeah, I agree. That has been the clamor for quite a long time now. But I asked for a reason what the structure should be like. For instance, if you say that you know, the commission should be manned in its entirety by persons living with disabilities, will their disabilities not be a hindrance to performance,
No.
as some suggest?
No, it can never be. There is, like we said earlier, like we proceeded earlier, there is physical disability, there is visual impairment, there is hearing impairment, there is mental, neurological. If it's neurological impairment, we tend to leave that out of it. But when it comes to physical, the mental is articulate. I will tell you something for free. Most people with disabilities have acute senses. When it comes to potentials, mental potentials, they are there. And if you check the composition of the governing council that makes up this commission, you will find out that there is a spread. Everybody is being picked from the geopolitical zones. And as you proceeded earlier, you say most of all these people living with disabilities, they have their own groups. Like my brother said, he belongs to a group of those with visual impairment. There are other groups too. There are albinos. Some of them have been on here before. There are people, you see, there are loads and loads of it, and they form themselves into units. These units have now come together to form a commission that handles what they want. What I want specifically is a case of us, the higher percentage, how we deal with these people. It is how we deal with them that gives us the result that we want. Look, take for instance a situation of infrastructure development. These are barriers these people go through, and those are things we should be talking about. In terms of go to ministries, agencies, departments and agencies, these days they are trying, because formerly they usually have steps, but these days if you go to some MDAs, they are beginning to have ramps.
Absolutely.
There are ramps for people with disability to make movement into it. But if you look at some other aspects too, like public transportation, some of them cannot get onto it. If you look at housing, most houses don't have ramps in the design and in the construction. I can tell you the commission is going to follow this up by making sure institutions that take care of those things do something, put up designs in their favor.
And I believe that that's why the commission has been set up to ensure that some of these things are taken care of. Yes. It's becoming quite interesting, but we must pause here for a break. Nigeria Today returns shortly. All right, great to know you're still there. This is Nigeria Today. In the case you've just tuned in, we've been discussing the task before the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Now, Olaleko was trying to make a point earlier. Could you, let's stress that out now.
Okay. Well, I said the last question you asked my brother here focuses the issue of disability on the medical model. That is what you can do with your hands, for instance, or with your sight, or with your legs, for instance. But definition of disability has gone beyond that. It is now being seen from the social model, meaning that disability is defined. I am disabled because of the physical barriers around me. For instance, if there are ramps here that lead from, for instance, the gate to this place, if it's a person on wheelchair cannot be considered as a person with disability, because he or she will be able to make use of his or her wheelchair to move around unaided. So in that case, he or she is not disabled.
Right. Well, I think you are trying very hard to skim me out of this. I wanted to identify with persons living with disabilities, but you don't want me to be. In any case, let me put this to you again. Okay. What should the role of the parent ministry be, talking about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, what is the role expected to be? And I ask because the ministry appears to have its plate full already, and I'm just wondering if we will not have a situation in time to come where they may not be able to, concentrate, as much as you would like on the commission and the activities of the persons it caters for.
Well, by the Enabling Act, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, is an independent body. It can sue and be sued. It can go into contracts. It is a legal entity, so to say. And when you say something is a legal entity, it can be compared to a natural being, like you and I, that can do anything independently, provided it's within the ambit of the law. Meaning that once the governing council is inaugurated, it's almost free to do anything within the ambit of the law to ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are not only guaranteed but protected. So the ministry will have little or nothing to do by the time the commission is fully functional.
Well, another thing, but before I go to my next question, perhaps it's something Bola Bakare would like to say something about. If you have in mind, there's a model you have in mind that you think the ministry could work around in relating with the commission.
Thank you very much. I would like to break this down in a way that everybody understands. I will run an inference into so many parent ministries that has appendages. Take, for instance, Ministry of Aviation. You have FAN, you have NCAA, you have NIMET, and everybody is operating on their own steam. Absolutely. That, like he rightly said, based on the Act, the Commission can work on its own. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, I so like the name because the name says it all. Humanitarian Affairs. When it comes to people with disabilities, I believe the Honorable Minister has done a yeoman's job of making a situation they've been clamoring for years, bringing it to the fore and making sure that the Mr. President assents to it.
Absolutely.
You see, when it comes to operations, they are, like my brother here, is very, very articulate. So stop the idea of looking at that little word, disability, to means inactivity. These people are together. They are ready to go. They are raring to go. They've been at it for years. Now that they have it, you can bet on it. They're going to do a good job of it.
All right. I'm just wondering, just a moment ago, whether we will not have, because we've been in a situation in this country where the South will say, well, we've been marginalized by the North, and in time to come, the North will say we've been marginalized by the South. I hope we will get to a situation where the visually impaired or hard of hearing will say that they've been marginalized by the physically challenged, or vice versa. How can the Commission strike the right balance so that everybody feels that they are being carried along? Kasim?
Well, as it is, going by the composition of the governing council, Mr. President has done a good job in the sense that all the various groups of persons with disabilities have been well represented. For instance, the executive secretary is somebody with a hearing impairment. Amina Audu from is in Northwest now. Yeah. She's a person with a physical challenge. Okay. Esther, I can't remember her other name, is a person with a visual impairment. So we are all well represented. Yes. And with the political will of Mr. President and going forward subsequently, this will be properly done, I hope and pray so.
Now, what kind of departments or units do you envisage that a commission will have? And I'm talking about the structure now, going further down, because these are the executive positions coming down the line when they begin to staff the commission. What kind of structure do you expect to see?
Well, like other parastatals, there are key departments that should be in place. One is the legal department, okay. Another is administration, another could be information, another could be specifically on welfare, you know. So that we see to, for instance, the implementation of free education, free healthcare services, provision of affordable and low income houses and the likes, you know. So it's not going to be a difficult one. The template is there, just to see one or two.
Just activate it and get going.
Exactly.
All right, as we gradually come to the end of this program, let me get to Bola Bakare quickly, and I'm told that I have just about a minute. Now, some have also argued that the commission might just become another one that might turn out dysfunctional. Now, how can this be prevented? How can this commission be made to be, you know, worth all the efforts and the long years of clamor?
Thank you. There are two angles to answer that with. One, the parent ministry is going to oversee them and make sure it acts like an arbitrator or a referee in this case. Okay. Two, the people in question, I can tell you this for free, the people in question, my brothers and sisters that are physically disabled, they would not let anything go wrong with the situation on ground. My brother, if there's 10 naira in your pocket, who protects it better than you? They are going to protect the commission, and I can tell you this, the commission is going to move in leaps and bounds with the ministry in tow.
That's what we hope to see, actually, and unfortunately we can go no further. Time is up, but I must first thank our guests, Bola Bakare, President, Truth Be Told Network. Thank you indeed for honoring our invitation.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you too.
And an equal measure of thanks must also go to Kasim Olalekan-Lawal, legal practitioner and chairman, Association of Lawyers with Disabilities, FCT chapter. We appreciate your time and perspectives.
Thank you for inviting me.